Pitch, melody, harmony, rhythm, meter, tempo, texture, tone color, also called timbre, and dynamics. These are often referred to as the elements of music. As a composer, all of these serve as building blocks when I craft together a composition. Pitches are specific notes like E flat on the bottom line of the treble clef staff or middle C below the staff. Melody involves a series of pitches sounded for certain rhythms or durations. The rise and fall of the melody forms a melodic contour. I may think up a melody, but then have to decide what instrument should play it. Maybe steel drums, or maybe a soaring electric guitar. That's timbre. Then I make a decision about texture. Do I want the melody all alone or unaccompanied, or maybe harmonized and accompanied with other notes? Of all the so-called elements of music, I have a favorite. It is, in my opinion, the most elemental or basic of them all. Can you guess which one? It's rhythm. This is composer and educator Dr. Scott Watson. So what about rhythm raises it above all the other worthy elements to become, in my view, a meta element or a super element? It's kind of complicated, and yet it's also really cool. So stay with me. The term element brings to mind the periodic table. Chemical elements like hydrogen and oxygen are really basic. They can't be broken down into any other elements. That's what makes them elements. But most of the musical elements I listed at the start of this video can actually be distilled down to, you guessed it, rhythm. Let me explain how. Rhythm is the temporal or durational aspect of music. If something lasts for 4 beats, that's a whole note. 2 beats, that's a half note. 1 beat, that's a quarter note. You get the idea. If I can tap a steady beat, you might say that I have a good sense of rhythm. Sometimes musicians use a metronome to help them with their rhythm. It's a device that keeps a steady pulse for you. A metronome may be set for any number of beats per minute, or B.P.M. A metronome setting of 60 means 60 beats per minute. With this setting, you'd hear your metronome click once every second. Set the metronome for 120, which is twice as fast, and you'll hear the metronome click every half second. Have I lost you yet? I hope not. Now, stay with me because it gets really cool soon. Right now you're hearing a click every half second. That's the metronome setting of 120. That's 2 clicks per second. Now, I'm going to speed up the rate of the click to 10 clicks per second. Pretty fast, huh? I couldn't imagine clapping that fast. Now let's crank it up to 20 beats per second. What do you notice now? It sounds like a low-frequency hum, doesn't it? Finally, here's 80 clicks per second. Definitely now we have a pitch, a note like the tones you play when you press a key on a piano or pluck a guitar string. But is it now really a pitch, or just a rhythm so fast that we perceive it as a pitch? The answer is yes, it's both. When the rate is slow enough, humans recognize a sound occurring at regular intervals as rhythmic. It's a steady beat. But speed up the rate of occurrence, or frequency, and we perceive it as a pitch or a note. Did you hear that? It's kind of like when your neighbor starts up his lawnmower. First it sputters, then the engine pops over and over rhythmically, but then in no time the lawnmower is humming away at a certain frequency or pitch. Hopefully now you see that pitch is really just a fast enough rhythm, roughly greater than 20 hertz. Frequency and pitch are very similar. Right? Frequency is usually referred to in hertz or cycles per second, and it refers to a rate of vibration. So 440 hertz, 440 cycles per second. Whereas pitch usually refers to a letter name of a note, like the A above middle C, which typically vibrates at 440 hertz. So pitch is the letter name A, whereas frequency would be the vibration rate, 440 hertz. The frequency range of human beings is commonly regarded as 20 hertz on up to 20,000 hertz. It is at around 20 hertz or 20 clicks per second that you sensed a fast rhythm becoming a low frequency hum or pitch. If we kept speeding things up, you would sense the tone getting higher and higher and higher until somewhere around 20,000 hertz, you would stop hearing it altogether. Although the neighborhood dogs would still hear it because they have a higher frequency range than humans. Okay, I've demonstrated that pitch comes from rhythm. How about the other elements? Well, not too hard. Meter and tempo are just ways to organize rhythm, or the rhythmic aspect of a song. So let's take meter, for instance. That's the rhythmic pattern or grouping of beats in a song. Okay? And then tempo is the speed of the beat or pulse of a song. How fast is it going to be played? Harmony is just simultaneously occurring pitches or frequencies, which can be traced back to, you guessed it, rhythm. So things like chords, right? Chords are intervals where you have two or more notes at once. That's harmony, and harmony is a collection of pitches, which is traced back to rhythm. Same for texture. Texture is when you have several streams of music happening at the same time. We call it polyphony. So you might have four melodies that all have the same rhythm. That's homophony. Or maybe you have two different melodies, a melody and a counter melody, and they form a counterpoint, but it's pitches that occur at the same time. So all of these can be traced back to rhythm. Okay, timbre, which is also known as tone color, or the characteristic way instruments sound, right? That's a little tougher to explain, but we can do it. We just have to dive a little bit deeper into the science of sound. Okay, so let's compare the colorful sounds of instruments to color itself. White light is made up of many separate colors. White light is a composite. And we know this because when light is sent through a prism, we see its spectrum, or we see all the colors that contribute or combined make up white light. So sound, like light, has a spectrum. And just as white light is made up of many colors, musical tones are made up of many frequencies. But each of the frequencies has a different amplitude or a different strength. So it's kind of like a recipe. You might have a lot of one frequency and then very little of some of the higher frequencies called overtones. Here's a spectrogram of a flute playing a C major scale. Although the flute is only playing one note at a time, you see many layers simultaneously. The lower, brighter color layers are the fundamental pitch the flute is playing, and then the upper green and blue and darker colors are the less loud overtones at higher frequencies that contribute to the flute's overall sound, or timbre. So you see, timbre, or tone color, owes a great debt to spectrum, which is in large part the assemblage of overtone frequencies, which can be traced back to rhythm. So is there a musical element not connected to rhythm? Actually, I'd say dynamics is the other primary or elemental element. The amount of acoustic energy in a vibration called amplitude makes us perceive musical sounds as loud or soft. This is independent of rhythm and in fact can be used to add stresses or accents to music, as in the piece you're hearing. It's a song called Amazon Women, which I wrote in the electronic music lab at Temple University back in grad school. Okay, if you're still with me after all this time, I am impressed. Good for you. So let's bring this erudite discussion of rhythm's importance in music down to earth. Let me play a series of rhythms for you. They are the rhythms of a fairly well-known tune or melody. I'll bet you can name the melody without ever hearing a single pitch or note because of how important rhythm is in music. Here it is. Perhaps now you can see why I believe that rhythm is a superstar among all the elements of music, and perhaps the most elemental of them all. Thanks for taking the time to join me in discussing a topic I think is fascinating. If interested, there's a listening guide for this video linked below. For those of you who don't know the answer to the melody whose rhythm I just played for you, the answer is in the listening guide. Please help this channel by subscribing, liking this video, and turning on notifications so you can learn when new videos are released.